Well, it has been some time, but I'm finally back. And today, I decided why not try a challenge run. Can I beat The Last of Us 2 no damage melee only? Oh god, why do I have so many regrets? To answer that question, you'll have to stick around a little while longer. But in the meantime, why don't I get down and dirty with it real quick? Let me explain the rules to you guys so that we have a basis of understanding of what I can and can't do. Rule number 1, no guns or bows are allowed. Next rule, rule number 2, no throwables. So no pipe bombs or smoke bombs. Anything that can be thrown is a no. And rule number 3, no damage. So if I take even a sliver of damage, I have to send myself back to the Shadow Realm. And now that we're done with that and all the rules are set in place, you guys are probably wondering, hey, Real, what can you do? And to answer that, it's very simple. I can still do a lot. So before we start our journey, let's go through the things that we can do. I can stealth kill enemies as long as I'm either strangling them or shivving them. Shooting is not acceptable. I can use crowbars and pipes, basically anything that I pick up that's a melee weapon. I can still use bricks and bottles as long as I'm striking enemies down with them. And if I have any AI companions with me, they can shoot and kill enemies for me, since I can't control them. Finally, I can change the difficulty if I feel as if things are getting far too challenging. By the way, I'm playing on the survival difficulties for your guys' information. So now that all the rules are set in place, enjoy your bucket of popcorn, sit back, relax, punch the nearest transgender kid's lights out, and let's get right into this bitch. We start this run off with the biggest challenge yet. Oh, come on. I can fucking do this. Come on, I got this. I got this. How am I not used to failure at this point? After Ellie woke up, Jesse came. After telling Jesse to give us a minute so that we can get ready and to just go back and watch over the kids during their wizard training, Ellie decides to do a bad move. No, we don't need that. We got something better. We go and pick up our trusted switchblade, only to immediately dominate a frail old man using our words.
Bigot sandwiches.
We then meet up with Dina playing with the children, and I could immediately tell that something was off about these kids.
Ow! What the fuck? I'm not even playing! Cause you're a
These little monsters decided to use their powers of sorcery for evil, and since this is a snowball fight and snowballs are throwables, and this is a melee only challenge, I basically had to take the pummeling by them, which does no damage. After you take 10 hits, it just goes to the same sequence as usual, so it doesn't really matter. After utterly humiliating us, they decided that victory wasn't enough, so they ganged up on Dina and began stabbing her. By the time I got there, she was already dead. We then switch off to Abby's portion while Ellie's busy dealing with Dina and resurrecting her back from the dead using her own sorcery, so that Dina can later get the MMA experience from Abby. But for Dina to get the MMA experience, I have to play as cautiously as possible. We finally get to our first infected enemy encounter, and our enemy today is George. You see, George is a really annoying piece of shit. He always says sussy baka, and that really pisses me off. So as he's searching me and patting me down to find a revolver so that he can blow his own brains out, I said fuck off with that shit and threw him down the cliff with me. As I was falling down the cliff and shattering my pelvis on the ice underneath the snow, I then decided that maybe we should talk things out rationally with George. After gently putting George to sleep, if you look down in the bottom right corner, you can clearly see that I've lost HP. So yeah, the no damage run has already failed. But we still got the melee only, baby. We can do this! Because I'm trapped in a crawl space, I can't attack the enemy with melee, nor can I crawl back, which results in an instant death, or crawl past him, which also results in an instant death. So the only way to beat this enemy is by firing a bullet at him. I fucking hate you. Burn. After firing off a bullet into that man's cerebral cortex, they decided to escape criminal charges the same way a father escapes parental obligation. Shh! Remember, kids? No witnesses. I also had to make sure that my shoes were strapped on tight because running was my best friend throughout this. It's here that we finally switch back to Ellie's segment after she brought Dina back to life. Man, she's sure come a long way as a necromancer between the first and second game. Dina decides to look out for people that give a fuck while I remember my appreciation and love for science. After forcing this door open, I see an enemy from across the room. I grab the glass bottle, preparing to smash it over his head with my bare fist, but the game forces you to throw it, and then strike him. So, that's another fail right there. Why do I keep trying? Why? only to fail over and over and over. After getting over my initial disappointment and sadness through more murder, I finally decided to move on to the next segment, only to immediately get tackled and held down by a strange woman. But don't worry, I have Dina with me. Dina, help! Dina, where the hell are you? What are you doing? After finally throwing her off and taking damage, Dina finally decides to step in and shoot.
Ellie, are you clean?
What?
Ellie, are you clean?
Due to failing as both a construction worker and an exterminator, I didn't realize the structural integrity of this building was so poor because of termites. Dina then tries to save my life and redeem herself for the previous fail. It didn't work. You still fucking suck and I don't forgive you. After successfully clearing out all the enemies in the area without any trouble, it's here that we fail the challenge again because we have to throw this rope over this air duct, and yes, this does count as a fail. After escaping the store, I jumped off the roof and immediately broke my legs. This game decides that breaking my legs wasn't enough, so it tries to break my neck by having me change perspectives from Ellie to Abby in an instant. But when they realized that they weren't able to snap my neck by simply switching perspectives, they tried to send a 35-year-old child soldier in to do the work for them. Luckily, I was saved by an elderly man. This guy was my hero, and I was gonna do everything within my power to pay him back. For this next segment, I ran around and made sure to keep in mind to repay the two old men for everything they've done for me. So when I got back to my settlement, I gave one of them a knee replacement surgery, and I helped the other one with a concussion that they recently received. I don't know how they got it, but they somehow managed. But I realized that that wasn't enough to pay them back for everything they've done for me, so I taught them how to play golf Tiger Woods style. So bada bing bada boom, Joel dies, we have a funeral, time for my revenge. Ooh, look, a slider. Oh fuck, it's Dina. What do you want, Dina?
Hey, Ellie, do you have a sponsor for this video?
Dina, you know I don't have a sponsor.
I know, I'm just making fun of you.
So as I move forward with the rest of my revenge journey on my own, I fail once again at this point since I have to throw this rope over this fence to unlock the gate to get to the next location. Ugh, all this fucking noise. What is it? What do you want?
Ellie! I'm sorry about what I said, okay?
And
And I'm a scumfuck bastard that deserves to get left behind.
I told Dina that she was allowed to continue on with the journey with me if she ran for 5 miles. She did. I enjoyed watching her suffer, but I decided that that was enough punishment. The infected zombies took the rest of the anger that I had stored. This is when we finally arrive to another extremely difficult part of this run. In this area, I have to fend off against dozens of infected. They kept swarming in left and right. I tried running. I tried fighting them off. I tried everything. It took all of my combined effort and skill that I've accumulated throughout this game just to make it even slightly possible to pass. And I did it. On my first try. Let's fucking go, baby! I did it! Omae wa mou shinderu. NANI? After utterly dominating all those enemies, I was feeling rather confident in my ability, not just as a sorcerer, but as a killer. Me and Dina ran into a few more infected enemies, but we obliterated them as a team. We were unstoppable. Fuck, we were stopped! As Dina was rolling away to safety and abandoning me to deal with the repercussions of my actions, a strange man that I've never seen before walked up to me and didn't understand how rifles worked. As they were discussing the differences between anime and cartoon, one of them was about to ask me for my opinion, but Dina comes in guns a-blazing, only to immediately get fucking shot down. I don't know how the bullet's trajectory missed, and I don't even know the reason why he doesn't just kill her immediately. Like, look at this shit. Why the fuck are you putting your gun back in your holster? Just shoot her! Like, is this a fucking joke? There's a knife right there! Stab her, literally do anything. But no, he decides to kill her in the longest way possible. So I took my time. I began meticulously planning and thinking. And then I realized something. I'm a necromancer. I can bring people back from the dead. Why didn't I just bring Joel back? I brought Dina back. Fucking Dina. And yet I didn't bring Joel back from the dead. Maybe I actually liked the murder. After reflecting on my past, reassessing my life goals, and reaching a zen state, I finally broke free and was able to take him out. I think we can all agree on one thing when it comes to this man's death. I didn't kill him. Inbreeding did. As I was sneaking out of this highly guarded facility filled with enemies carrying the worst depth perception I've ever seen, I learned a very interesting fact about human enemies. They either have the greatest, most unbelievable and bullshit senses you'll ever see in any game, or they can literally fucking ignore Dina. After escaping a facility filled with guards armed to the teeth, I failed a challenge again at this point since Ellie can't step over clearly visible booby traps. I arrive at my destination and it's finally time for me to get my revenge, but when I get to the room where she's hiding out to get my first kill, it seems as if she's already dead, through triple penetration. I don't know who or what did it, but they sure as hell misunderstood the meaning of triple penetration. More human enemies came and me and Dina were trapped, so I had to be extremely careful and stealthy throughout this entire situation. We ran into a few more human enemies down in the subway, but I just let the infected deal with them. It's their fault for shooting. After that, we yet again have to throw another rope to get to our next destination, so that's another fail. I'm not even losing to human or infected enemies anymore. I'm losing to inanimate objects. It's here that we run to a brand new infected type known as the Shambler. These guys let out a giant spray of acid if you get too close to them that can deal damage. But surprisingly enough, you can still kill them melee only without taking any damage from their spray. It's not as difficult as you would think. You just have to be quick on your feet. When my mask got cracked, Dina tries to take hers off in a suicide pact, but I immediately stopped her. Even if I was gonna die, I'd rather be found dead alone than with her. It's here where we immediately get thrown into a chase sequence, and I remember the #1 rule of survival that Joel taught me. You don't have to run fast, you just have to run faster than the person you're with. But out of nowhere, Dina became the living incarnation of Sonic. I was so angry because she ran faster than me, and that meant my death. As the clicker was about to kill me, Dina stepped in and saved my life. And I don't know how that clicker's body is holding back 20 enemies, but it is, and I'm impressed.
I think I'm pregnant.
Hold on, wait a second. What did you just say? But that means... Humiliating us, they decided that victory wasn't enough, so they ganged up on Dina and began stabbing her. By the time I got there, she was already dead. Dina? Bad fucking news there, bud. Ellie finds an old guitar and begins tripping on, science. Only to begin hallucinating a younger version of herself. Huh? Joel? Is that really you? Am I having a stroke? Do you smell toast? Did you say stroke? For the sake of achieving peak comedy, I put a hat on a dinosaur. You can't best that. Once we were done looking at the dinosaur exhibit, we then moved on to the planetarium, but Joel seemed kind of weird. He was spacing out. After a bit more exploring, we had found ourselves in buttfuck nowhere, so Joel decided to have me survey the area to see where we are. I don't really know what happened inside this building past this point. All I know is that it could have been a ton of fun. After convincing Dina that I was 3 minutes sober, I told her to stay behind to mourn her dead child, but then she said that she felt a kick. Whether she was delusional or telling the truth, I didn't want to find out for sure. So as I was continuing on with the rest of my journey, I found another brand new enemy type, the dogs. These guys were annoying little shits. If you stay in an area too long or move too slowly, they can easily find your location, so I had to stay as silent as possible. The fact that the Shambler heard me is impressive, but the fact that he didn't see me is even more impressive. You guys know the drill. We run into a few more infected and I break all their ankles. Like, look at this! As I was entering this dark and creepy garage, a man came out of nowhere and started forcing himself onto me. Oh no, this is reminding me of my Uncle Dan all over again. But this time around, things were different. I clapped his cheeks. As I was desecrating and looting his body, I found myself a weapon that I can't even use. Oh hell yeah! But it's failing the challenge time. What did I fail it to? Was it 50 infected? A bloater? No. Sadly enough, it was something far worse. I failed the challenge to mannequins. What the living fuck? Turns out that desecrating and looting corpses was the wrong thing to do. And if I wanted to move even an inch, I had to fire the bow. What? I failed the challenge to fucking mannequins? Dina! It's here we get to one of the most difficult parts of the entire game. This entire area took me half an hour to get past, just because the human enemies were very, very difficult. Either I tried to stealth past them and they constantly spotted me, or I tried to fight them, but because they have actual guns that they can fire, I would have to immediately reset. I tried this part over and over and over again. I eventually muscled my way through, but at what cost? I was so mad after all of that, I shattered this man's skull into oblivion. Even though I was really mad, I couldn't help but wonder, should I have really splattered that man's skull and brain matter all over the walls and floor? And out of nowhere, a wild Jesse appeared. But let's just say he had some interesting ideas on how he wanted to reveal himself.
What are you doing here?
What? What do you mean, what am I doing here? What are you?
Fucking your mom.
As me and Jesse's argument continued, the casualties only increased, and it got even worse when Jesse found the keys to the truck. This was Jesse's first time driving, and he was doing pretty well. Also, during this segment I am getting shot, but since my health isn't in the bottom right corner to actually indicate that I've taken damage, I haven't taken any. As Jesse was being choked to death, I considered letting him die for the sake of the challenge, but luckily I was able to stab the enemy. He was surprised to say the least. After a bit of a chase sequence where I'm flaunting my immortality for all to see, I'm forced into another situation where I have to break my own rules again. I have to shoot this guy or else I die. There is no stabbing, there is no other option, so yeah. After all that, Jesse began panicking during our driving exam and crashes us into an electrical post. I questioned whether we should stick with the car or get out of Dodge on foot, but Jesse's tantrum made it clear that he wanted that fucking license. It's here where the infected literally began popping out of the woodworks and jumping at the hood of my car in an attempt to know whether I had an OnlyFans or not. Some of them got a bit too grabby, but since Jesse needed an examiner, he helped me out. Now for the clicker that jumped onto the hood of the car, I do have to shoot him, but since I already shot someone at the beginning of the segment, I am not going to give myself another fail. As Jesse crashed the car into the lake and the car started sinking, I began evaluating the score within my head on whether Jesse passed or failed.
I failed that, didn't I?
No, you passed.
But what? But I ran over so many people even though I tried to avoid them.
Yeah, I deducted you points for avoiding so many. When we got back to the theater, I was so pissed because Jesse cucked me in an instant. I don't know whether to feel insulted or happy. I'll let myself meditate on that one for another day, but for right now, I have a lot more science to do. This time around though, I was hallucinating that Tommy was taking me on a hunting trip.
You want to give it a whirl?
And as usual, I can't move forward, stab, jump, do literally anything to progress the story outside of picking up the rifle and killing the zombies. But hey, let's look at the bright side of things. At least I'm failing by actually shooting the undead and not shooting inanimate objects. After the hunting trip where I gained a fail, Tommy decides to take a back seat and me and Joel explored uncharted territory. There were dozens of infected in this place, but I had a strategy to deal with all of them, and that strategy was let Joel handle everything. Joel was a fucking beast. If I were to say that Joel soloed everything, I wouldn't be wrong, because in all honesty, I just sat back and watched him do all the work, and I reaped the rewards of his effort. You call this cheating? I call it strategy. But after killing those dozens of infected, I was feeling awesome. Oh hell yeah! All my hard work was finally paying off, and I was feeling invincible. Do you hear that? Oh shit. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh!